Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Delivery Manager Daily. I'm Mario Di Cristofano, and I'm going to talk to you over the next few days and weeks in this new podcast series about delivery management and delivery techniques and strategy and tactics that you can deploy on your own projects. And if you've only just started listening, do listen to the episodes prior to this, where I talk a little bit about me, my background. And if you want to carry on the conversation, you can contact me on Twitter at MarioDC and go to my blog, which, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see straight away. And today, I want to talk about, I guess, your delivery management manifesto and how you've developed, or how I've developed mine over time. That in every project, I'm starting as I mean to go on. And I've found myself procrastinating on the things that I knew I had to do but didn't find comfortable to do. And maybe that was things like, tackling the really difficult stuff first, having that awkward conversation with the client, or knowing that you've got someone in your team that doesn't like you, and you've kind of got to, get them on board and build a relationship. But you're not very good at it and don't really know what to do, so you ignore it. Um, some things around scope, maybe there's a woolly scope, maybe no one knows what they're doing and don't know where to start. Um, the estimate's all wrong, all kinds of stuff, right? So over the years that I've been doing what I do, I've slowly started to kind of refine and have the courage to tackle some of these straight up front. And what I find is there's a correlation between tackling these things and the amount of projects that go better because you're tackling these things up front. So I reckon there's probably seven important things to me as a delivery person. And the actual blog post I'm looking at is back from 2016 on Mario's blog. It's called Digital Project Manager, a Manifesto. And there's a lovely picture of a pig with some lipstick on, which is often some of the scopes of work that I've either worked on or been responsible for. And I'm sorry. Um, but here are the seven things, and we'll talk about them in the next 15 minutes and see if any of them resonate with you. So, having a detailed scope of work, and no matter whether we're working in an agile world, and if you've listened to one of my previous episodes talking about agile, and we'll talk a bit more, often there's a lot of mistakes made because businesses, organizations, clients, and agilists hide behind the notion of, well, nothing's ever finished, we'll just carry on and on and on and on. I think your scopes need to be somewhat fixed, and there needs to be a target or a goal. And whilst I appreciate if you're delivering software, that's obviously an evolutionary thing and features can be drip fed in over time. But still, from a commercial perspective, you have to head towards a fixed kind of state, whether that's an MVP or, in a lot of the projects I do, it's a little bit of software, a little bit of technology, a little bit of transformation. But I think it's really important as a delivery person to really understand where that MVP point is, no matter what you're doing. Not having that up front is often a real problem. And I tend to find that I pore over the scope of work now, whether I've written it, whether an account director's written it, and really made sure that the synergy between that scope of work and a backlog of stuff to do. And if there's too much of a gap, too much of a difference, then I really challenge that, because otherwise you end up finding your delivery teams going off down one path, and the scope of work will never be met because you just, as a delivery person, you're not bridging that gap sufficiently well enough. And then point number two, sort of testing. You've got to get testing in the plan right from the start. So regardless of budget, you've got to proportion an amount of time for testing. And arbitrarily, you can, I think, people bandy around 20 or 30% project budget for testing, but I don't really care about that, other than straight from the off, you have to get testing in straight from the off. And, in particular for software, that'll mean making sure you've got budget for testers, setting up a testing strategy, a CI/CD sort of DevOps foundation with a good pipeline, and making sure that you've planned for unit and automation testing for software, and anything else, just making sure that it's tested. So it's often missed, it's often done at the end, waterfall styly. And I think point number two for me is making sure that you've got solid testing in place in your plan right from the off, and really think about testing as well, because whatever it is you're doing, if it's not tested, it's useless. Then testing yourself and your team. So moving on to point three, sort of, if you don't know what you're doing, don't start. So everyone's got to be clear, and a good delivery manager, a good delivery person will be able to articulate in a language that your mum can understand, no matter the complexity of the project, what it is we're here to do. And that's a benchmark that I set myself. And I think a lot of the coaching and mentoring and training that I do with people now is because I'm fortunate enough to have this ability to, I guess, convey things in a way that resonates and makes sense with people. I think it's a really important skill to develop if you don't have it or you're not that good at it. But if your team aren't all clear, properly clear, not just telling you they're clear because you're the boss or the delivery manager or the product owner, they actually understand what they're there to do, um, then I think you're just setting yourself up for failure. So test yourself and the team when you do that kind of kickoff, and you're mobilizing your team and your development team and engineers. Make sure everyone is clear and is not interpreting what they think they're doing. Make sure everyone's clear on what you're doing, and also importantly, why. I found and I've learned over the years that especially with technical people, they want to know why because their natural personality is inquisitive. That's why they're good engineers and developers and testers. And it's, well, why are we doing this? Because what they're obviously wanting to do is do the best thing, the best, most efficient and innovative way. Now, often I'd be quite happy to say, well, just do it because that's what we're here to do and that's what we're paid to do. And sometimes you do have to make that compromise as teams, but often I found myself now just making sure that we're all clear on why and making sure that it resonates with anyone and everyone that's involved. And if I look back over the last kind of 6 projects that I've worked on, there's been a real kind of, we are gathered here today to do this, and this is why. Do you all understand? And again, that's a really good starting point for all teams. Point 4 is about, for me, estimation and making sure that tasks are estimated. Now, if you talk about agile theory in particular, you can talk about estimation until the cows come home, and that's certainly not what I'm here to do, and certainly not what this podcast's about. But make sure, as I like to do as a delivery person, is make sure that you've got clear estimates for the tasks. So if everyone knows what they're doing and they know why they're here, making sure then that everyone's agreed to their tasks. And again, if you listen to a previous episode where I talk about using Kanban as a simple kind of strategy of getting people together, well, now we're starting to think about taking those tasks and applying an estimation, a calibrated estimate. So across your team, everyone's clear on what is a small, a medium, and a large type task. Outside of pure software delivery, I stay away from sort of Fibonacci and more complicated planning and estimation techniques. For a lot of the hybrid projects that I work on, that's a bit of software, a bit of technical, a bit of transformation, t-shirt sizing does pretty well. The key is to estimate in a way that's calibrated, so everyone's in an agreement what represents a small, medium, and large, and getting that done straight from the off is really important. Then get that documented in your project sort of documents, so the team are clear when they run future planning and estimation and grooming sessions, that everyone's clear on what small, medium, and large means. One thing in particular, sort of moving on to point 5 for me, and I was terrible at it, and I'm going to take a swig of coffee, so excuse me. And I have to say, I was not good at this for a number of years, and I don't think as human beings it's just natural that we're not good at this. But when you're in the shit, learn to say and speak up straight away. As a project and delivery person, I think it's really important to be absolutely transparent and visible. And my God, the amount of times that I've sat on slowly smouldering fires that I thought, well, I'll try my best to put out because that's what I'm here for. And actually they've turned into giant raging fireball infernos, and they're out of control. And ultimately that's just reflected on me and put the teams that have worked for me in the shit. And that's on me, and that was wrong to do. The balance is to work out when you're raising a false alarm and being kind of risk averse, and actually, what a business or a client team or your project team, if you're the scrum master or PO, what they really need to know. But ultimately now I'm not particularly bothered about, putting my hand up and saying, look, this isn't going to work, or we have a problem and we need to tackle it, and then get everyone into some kind of war room configuration and get it sorted. Not speaking up early enough is one of the biggest things that I see delivery people get wrong. And it's really difficult. Organizations are difficult to work in, and there's a blame culture often, and politics, and no one wants to say they've made a mistake. And people are economically, because of COVID and other things, people are worried about getting the sack or it looking bad on them. So it's very difficult to have the confidence to say, look, this isn't right, or I've made a mistake, or this sprint's out of control, or we've just carried stuff over and we're building up technical debt like there's no tomorrow. But really, speaking up early, I think is the mark of a really good delivery person. I'll skip over a couple of points if you're watching on YouTube. I don't really want to talk about them in particular. But the last one I'm particularly interested in, and it's something that, again, I used to forget about, but remember that we're all human as well. And, a beer in a pub with your team, or a coffee or a lunch. And it's those little things that are often really important. And I don't mean enforced fun. I don't mean sort of getting people on a Zoom call and go team. It's more, having an opportunity for people to giving them space to vent, or have an opinion, or buy them a beer and say thanks. And even when things aren't going well, that becomes even more important. I think in today's world, it's really easy to just get carried away with your tasks and your goals, and actually forget that we're all people. And I know I've been guilty in the past of being so focused on my own delivery and my career, I forgot that there's people around me. And that was one of my biggest mistakes. So remember to take people to the pub or a coffee shop, and remember that we're all human. So that is another episode done for the Delivery Manager Daily. I hope you've enjoyed listening to some of my waffle. I look forward to talking to you in the next episode. And if you want to carry on the conversation, or you've got any opinion, you can go to my website or contact me on Twitter at MarioDC. Thanks a lot.